I worked 3 years for that car. 3 years of overtime, missed parties, saying no to vacations, and eating dollar ramen while my friends posted beach pictures. And in one night, one stolen joyride. My cousin turned my dream into twisted metal. The cops' lights were still flashing when I pulled up. My Tesla Model S Plaid was crumpled around a pole, steam rising from the hood like it was exhaling its last breath. And there he was, my cousin, arms crossed, smirking, like this was all one big joke. "You're overreacting, Chris," he said. "It's just a car. Just a car." In that moment, I realized something terrifying. He genuinely believed that. And worse, he believed my family would protect him. Again, he wasn't entirely wrong. That night was when the fight really started, not just for my car, but for my boundaries, my sanity, my self-respect. And trust me, it got a lot uglier before it got better. Before I dive into all of this, because it really is a wild ride. If you love stories about justice, standing up for yourself, and family drama that finally explodes, do me a quick favor. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, so you never miss a story time like this. It helps the channel a ton, and it tells me you want more stories where people finally stop being doormats. Okay, so, here's how it all started. My name's Kristen, but most people call me Chris, and my cousin, let's call him the Mooch. For now, because that's what he was, a full-time moocher who treated responsibility like it was optional fine print. Later, I'll tell you his real name, but honestly, the Mooch fits him perfectly. For context, I grew up in Raleigh, North Carolina, in a pretty normal, middle-class family. My parents weren't rich, but they were steady. They taught me, pay your own bills, don't ask for what you can earn. Asterisk, and if you want something big, you work for it. My cousin grew up in a slightly different universe. His parents, my Aunt Diane and Uncle Stephen, operated on a completely different set of rules. Asterisk, if he broke something, they replaced it. If he racked up debt, they paid it. If he messed up, they defended him. He was just finding his way. That was the phrase. Always. Brandon's just finding his way. Yeah, there it is, the Mooch. Real name is Brandon. I still remember the first time I saw a Tesla Model S Plaid in person. I was 22, just out of college, burned out, and working at a job that barely covered rent. I was in a parking garage downtown, dragging myself out of my beat-up Corolla, when this sleek, black machine rolled past me like it was gliding on air. No engine rumble, just this quiet, confident hum. The kind of sound that says, I don't flex. I exist. I stood there with my keys in my hand, staring like an idiot. The woman driving it caught my eye, smiled, and gave me this little nod. Not a bragging nod, more like, asterisk, yeah, I worked for this. Asterisk, and something in me clicked. I remember thinking, greater than one day, that's going to be me. Not maybe. Not I wish. One day, that moment became my North Star. I was working a decent office job by then, but it was just that decent. So I started building toward that Tesla like it was my personal Everest. I picked up freelance gigs in the evenings. I did social media consulting for local businesses on weekends. I stopped buying coffee out, stopped going out every weekend, stopped upgrading my phone every year. Every extra dollar had a destination. Tesla fund. I watched everyone else my age chasing instant gratification trips, outfits, brunches. And yeah, sometimes it stung. But every time I thought about giving in, I'd pull up a photo of that Model S and remind myself, greater than, you're not just buying a car, you're buying proof that you can do it. While I was juggling day job plus side hustles, Brandon was, well, finding his way. By finding his way, I mean, sleeping in until noon in his parents' basement, gaming until 3 a.m., starting random projects and never finishing them, doing freelance graphic design that mysteriously never seemed to pay real bills. He was 25 and still had his parents paying for, asterisk, his rent. Yes, they gave him money even though he lived in their basement, asterisk, his asterisk, asterisk phone bill, asterisk, 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 his asterisk, 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 his asterisk, 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 his car insurance every time he screwed up. There was a ready-made excuse and a ready-made bailout. He crashed their old Honda once because he didn't see the stop sign, greater than. It was dark. The sin was covered by a tree. A car jumped out of nowhere. Did he pay for it? Of course not. Aunt Diane just sighed. He's just going through a rough patch. He'll figure things out. Uncle Stephen nodded. Boys make mistakes. It's part of growing up. Brandon wasn't a boy. He was 25. Meanwhile, When I was 20 and my laptop died in the middle of a semester. No bailout, no rough patch. Just me, picking up a second job waiting tables to buy a used laptop with a cracked corner and missing rubber feet. I never resented my parents for not bailing me out. They were doing their best. But I did resent the double standard, because every time Brandon set his own life on fire, everyone around him ran in with a fire extinguisher. Fast forward. I'm 27. I've been working my job, plus side hustles, for 3 brutal years. I have spreadsheets for everything. Asterisk, my income streams, my Tesla savings, my debt payoff, asterisk, my monthly fun money, which was hilariously small. I remember nights sitting at my tiny kitchen table, lit by the harsh light of my laptop, eyes burning from staring at invoices. My friends would text, greater than we're going out, you in, drinks tonight, weekend trip, we found cheap flights. And I'd type back, greater than can't this week, I'm saving for something big. They didn't always get it. Honestly, I don't blame them. I barely saw myself. I'd look in the mirror some mornings and think, is this worth it? Am I crazy for doing all this for a car? But every time doubt crept in, I'd pull up the Tesla website, open that Plaid page, and stare at it like a vision board. Top speed, range, design, the clean minimalist interior, the way that steering felt when I test drove one for the first time. It wasn't just a carrot, was every overtime shift made tangible. The day it finally happened. It was raining. I remember that so clearly. Raleigh was drenched. My hair frizzed the second I stepped outside. But I didn't care because I had a cashier's check in my bag with my name on it and a number that represented years of sacrifice. The Tesla showroom felt like stepping into the future. White walls, bright lights, clean lines. I'd been there before just to torture myself and test sit in cars I couldn't afford yet. But this time, it was different. This time, I wasn't pretending. The rep handed me the keys. Well, the key card, and, I swear, my hands shook. Greater than congratulations, Kristen, he said. You earned her. I walked out to my car. A midnight gray Model S Plaid, gleaming under the gray sky. Drops of rain slid down the hood like it was in a movie. I got in. The leather seat hugged me. I tapped the brake. The screen lit up, and when I pulled out of that lot, the quiet electric hum felt like a victory song. I remember thinking, greater than this is it. This is what 3 years of no looks like. I drove around the block in circles at least 3 times just because I could. I imagined pulling into my parents' driveway, how they'd step outside, and my mom's hand would fly to her mouth. My dad's eyebrows would shoot up. I imagined my dad saying, "Wow, kiddo, I'm proud of you." That vision kept replaying in my head like a cinematic loop. I had no idea that before I could even share that moment with them, that same car would be crumpled around a street pole. And my own family would ask me to forgive the guy who did it. It didn't take long for Brandon to notice my new car. The first weekend after I bought it, he showed up at my place with his usual lazy grin, hands shoved into the pockets of an overpriced hoodie I'm sure he didn't buy himself. He stepped onto my driveway, stopped, and just stared. Greater than no way, he said, walking around the Tesla like a shark circling prey. You actually got it. Yup, I said, trying to play it cool. But inside I was glowing. 3 years in the making. He whistled. Damn, Chris, this thing is sick. Can I sit in it? He said it like a joke, so I shrugged and said, sure. Sit, not drive. He opened the door and slid into the driver's seat, like it was made for him. His fingers drifted over the steering wheel, the massive center screen, the minimalist dashboard. Man, he said, I can totally see myself in one of these. I laughed. Then get a job that pays more than exposure. He chuckled, but I saw something shift in his eyes. Something like hunger. Not for the car itself, but for what it represented. Status, flex, instant validation. He got out, but as he walked away, he tossed a casual, so, when do I get to take it for a spin? Never, I said, straight-faced. He paused, glanced back half laughing. Come on, for real? I shook my head. For real. Nobody drives this car but me. He rolled his eyes. You're so dramatic. It's my blood, sweat, and tears, I said. That's not drama, that's math. He muttered something under his breath, but I didn't catch it. I just chalked it up to Brandon being Brandon. I should have paid more attention to the entitlement in his voice. A week later, it was a Friday night. I'd had a long day at work and just wanted to decompress. So I did what any emotionally drained adult does. I curled up on my couch in sweatpants, turned on Netflix, and let myself disappear into someone else's story. My Tesla was parked out front, clean, charged, and perfect. Halfway through an episode, my phone buzzed. I glanced at the screen. Unknown number. I ignored it. Buzz again. Same number. Probably spam, I thought, turning up the volume. Then my voicemail pinged, and my phone started ringing again. Same number, back to back. That's when anxiety pricked the back of my neck. I paused the show and picked up. Hello, a calm, professional voice answered. Miss Kristen, this is your insurance agent. Your vehicle's been reported in an accident. For a second, I didn't process it. What, your Tesla Model S? He clarified. We have reports it's been involved in a collision. Are you safe? Are you at the scene? My heart dropped into my stomach. Greater than no, I said, standing up so fast I knocked the remote off the couch. I'm at home. My car should be outside my house. I sprinted to the window, the space in front of my house. Empty, just rain and pavement. My body went cold. It's not here. I whispered into the phone. The agent gave me an address. It was only 10 minutes away. We'll need you to come to the scene as soon as possible, Miss Kristen, and verify ownership. Law enforcement is already present. I'll be there. I hung up, heart pounding. Mind spinning. Keys. I needed my keys. I ran to the little hook by my kitchen door, where I always kept my spare key card for the Tesla Bee, 'cause I'm organized like that. The hook was empty. For a second, I just stared at it, brain doing that slow, laggy processing, like a computer with too many tabs open. Then, like a film rewinding, my mind replayed the last time I saw that hook. Brandon leaning in the kitchen doorway last weekend, laughing, watching me hang the card up. A single word flashed in my mind like a neon sign. Greater than Brandon. I grabbed my primary key card from my bag and jumped into my old backup sedan, one I'd kept just in case. The irony burned. The drive to the crash site felt like forever and a blur at the same time. Rain smeared across the windshield. My hands gripped the steering wheel so tight my knuckles ached. My thoughts were all over the place. This can't be real. Maybe it's not my car. If it's not my car, someone stole my VIN number. Greater than what if someone's hurt? What if he's hurt? I hated that last thought still existed, but it did. I turned onto the street the agent had given me, and my stomach twisted. Blue and red lights flashed through the rain, reflections streaking across the wet asphalt. An ambulance sat parked, its lights off, doors closed. A tow truck idled nearby, and there, in the middle of it all, was my Tesla, or what used to be. The front end was smashed into a pole, metal crumpled like paper. The hood was bent upwards, one headlight shattered, glass glittering on the ground. The sleek lines that used to make me proud now looked broken and pathetic. I pulled over and stumbled out of the sedan, feet hitting a puddle. A cop in a reflective raincoat turned toward me, squinting through the drizzle. Ma'am, you the owner of the Tesla? My voice felt like it was trapped in my throat. Why, yeah, I'm the owner. He nodded, jotting something on his clipboard. Can I see your ID? My hands shook as I handed it over. While he checked my information, my eyes scanned the scene, and then I saw him, Brandon, leaning against a lamppost like it was casual, hands in his pockets, no visible injuries. That familiar half-smirk plastered on his face. I saw red. I didn't even wait for the cop to finish speaking. My feet were moving before my brain caught up. What the hell, Brandon? I screamed, the words ripping out of me. The cop stepped quickly between us. Hand up. Ma'am, I'm going to need you to take a breath and calm down. Calm down, I snapped. I pointed around him at Brandon. He stole my car. Brandon shrugged like I'd accused him of taking a French fry off my plate. I borrowed it. Chris, relax. You're being extra. The entitlement in his voice hit me like a slap. Greater than borrowed, I snarled. You took my keys without asking. You stole my car, and you wrapped it around a pole. That's not borrowing. That's theft. The cop glanced between us. Let's talk one at a time, he said, pen hovering over his notebook. Miss, did you give him permission to drive your vehicle? I turned to the officer, forcing my voice to steady. No, I did not give permission. I told him he couldn't drive it. He took my spare key from my home without my knowledge. Brandon rolled his eyes, pushing off the lamppost. Oh, come on. You're really gonna make this a big deal. We're family. He said family like it was an Alaxis pass. My jaw clenched. Family doesn't steal from family. The cop scribbled something down. So you explicitly told him he could not use the vehicle? Yes, I said. I have texts to prove it. That made Brandon stiffen for the first time. He scoffed, but the edge in his voice betrayed him. Seriously, you're dragging the cops into a family argument over a car. I turned to him slowly. It's not just a car, Brandon. It's 3 years of my life. He smirked again, trying to sound unfazed. Cry about it. Diane and Steven will smooth it over. They always do. My blood boiled. The cop cleared his throat. Okay, here's what's going to happen, he said. You, he pointed at me, are going to give your statement. You, he pointed at Brandon, are going to answer a few questions as well. The insurance company will also contact both of you. He handed me a form. You'll want to keep this, and maybe keep your keys somewhere safer next time. There was no malice in his tone, but it still stung. Like this was somehow partially my fault, for trusting my own family. I watched as my Tesla was pulled up onto the tow truck, metal groaning. It looked defeated. Brandon just whistled softly, like he was watching a show. Driving home in my creaky backup sedan felt like driving backward in life. I kept glancing at the empty space on the road where my Tesla should have been and silently repeating, greater than he stole my car. I'm not crazy, he stole my car. By the time I got home, my phone was buzzing nonstop, missed calls, texts, group messages. I didn't even look. I went straight to my bathroom and stared at myself in the mirror. My eyes were red, hair damp from the rain, jaw tight. Greater than you are not crazy. I told my reflection. He stole your car. My phone buzzed again. This time I checked. There was a text from my mom. Greater than mom, honey. Brandon called. He said you're really upset. Can you come over tomorrow so we can talk about it? My stomach sank off. Of course he'd called them first. Of course he'd tried to spin it. I typed back. Greater than me. He stole my Tesla and wrecked it. There's nothing to talk. I almost hit send. But then I deleted it. I knew how this went. They'd want to keep the peace. They'd tell me I was overreacting. They'd ask me to be the bigger person. I slid my phone onto the counter and tried to sleep that night. I didn't. My dreams were full of flashing police lights, crumpled metal, and Brandon's smug face. The next morning, my mom called again. Greater than Kristen, sweetie, she said, skipping hello, can you come over later? Diane and Steven are here. We need to talk about what happened. Her voice had that tight, forced calmness that made me feel like I was the problem. I closed my eyes. Fine, I said. I'll be there in an hour. Driving to my parents' house in the backup sedan felt like a walk of shame. The car rattled when I turned, the check engine light mocking me. When I pulled into their driveway, I imagined how it should have gone. Me, gliding up in the Tesla, my parents and aunt and uncle stepping outside, faces lit with pride. Instead, I stepped out of a noisy old car, wearing the same exhaustion from yesterday, headed into what felt like a courtroom where I was the defendant. Inside, everyone was already gathered in the living room. Mom on the edge of the couch, wringing her hands. Dad in his armchair, arms folded. Aunt Diane perched next to her, lips pressed tight. Uncle Steven standing by the window, staring out like he couldn't bear to look directly at the conflict. The only person missing was Brandon. Of course. Greater than hey, I said, my voice flat. Where's the criminal? Kristen, my mom hissed. Don't start. I laughed once, hollow. Right. God forbid I start. I'm just the one whose car got stolen. Aunt Diane spoke first, her voice dripping with wounded concern. Sweetie, we heard about what happened. Brandon told us everything. That sentence alone made my skin crawl. Greater than did he say everything, or did he say his version of everything? I asked. Dad sighed. Sit down, kiddo. I stayed standing. Mom took a breath. We know you're upset. She started. Of course you are. But, he's family. He made a mistake. There it was, the word I knew was coming. Greater than a mistake, I repeated slowly. He stole my car. Took my key from my house. Crashed it. Smirked in my face. That's not a mistake. That's a choice. Aunt Diane jumped in, eyes shiny with emotion. He didn't mean for any of that to happen. He just wanted to feel what it was like. He was excited for you, and maybe he got carried away. I stared at her. Was she serious? He was excited for me, so he stole what was mine. I said, do you hear yourself? Uncle Steven finally turned around, his voice measured. Kristen, you know Brandon's been struggling. He's had a hard time finding his footing. We don't want this to ruin his future. And there it was. His future. I felt something inside me twist. What about mine? I shot back. What about my future? My car? My record? My insurance? My savings? Dad raised his hands. Look, everyone needs to take a breath, he said. We can work this out like adults. We'll help with the repairs. Okay, we'll pitch in. Just, don't press charges. Don't make this bigger than it needs to be. I laughed, sharp, angry, disbelief bubbling up. Greater than bigger than it needs to be. I asked. You know what's big? $30,000 in damage. You know what's big? The fact that he thought he could steal from me and you'd all rally to protect him. And guess what? He was right. Mom's eyes softened, but her words were knives wrapped in cotton. Honey, you're stronger than he is. You've always been the responsible one. You've always landed on your feet. Can't you just be the bigger person here? There it was. The line. Be the bigger person. I'd heard it my entire life. When Brandon borrowed my stuff as kids and broke it. When he ruined a group trip by not paying his share and they looked to me to cover it. When he missed Grandma's birthday and they said, he has a lot on his mind. Apparently, I was the designated bigger person in every scenario. Greater than no, I said finally, voice low but steady. I'm not doing this again. He doesn't get to commit a crime and hide behind family. Aunt Diane's expression changed, no longer pleading, but sharp. You're being selfish. Kristen, the word hit like a slap, but instead of crumbling, something in me solidified. Greater than selfish, I repeated, right? I'm selfish for expecting the person who stole my car to take responsibility. Makes total sense. Mom stood, reaching for my hand. Sweetie, no one is saying what he did was okay, but pressing charges, going after him with insurance, that could follow him for years. I pulled my hand back. Greater than good, I said. Maybe consequences will finally follow him for once. The room went quiet. You could have heard a pin drop. Dad's jaw clenched. You're making this very hard on all of us. I stared at him. Greater than I didn't steal anything, I said. I didn't crash anything. I'm not the one making it hard. I turned toward the door. Greater than if you all want to keep enabling him, that's your choice. But I'm done playing along. I'm filing the claim. And I'm talking to the police. As I walked out, I heard Aunt Diane whisper, she's changed. I almost turned around and said, no, I just finally stopped letting you step on me. But I didn't. I just left. My hands trembled as I got back into my old sedan. But my decision was clear. I wasn't backing down this time. That afternoon, I dragged myself into work, feeling like my brain had gone through a blender. I slumped into my office chair, staring blankly at my computer screen. Emails, notifications, calendar reminders, none of it fully registered. That's when Megan showed up in my doorway. Megan is that coworker who became more than a coworker. Sharp, sarcastic, fiercely loyal, the kind of person who can read your entire emotional state from how you sip your coffee. She leaned on the doorframe, eyes narrowed. Greater than you look like you either need coffee, a lawyer, or both, she said. Want to talk about it? Or should I start guessing? I tried to joke it off. I'm fine. She raised an eyebrow. You look like someone drove your heart into a pole. So, try again. That broke me. I told her everything. I told her about the car, the years of saving, the crash, Brandon's smirk, my parents' intervention, Aunt Diane calling me selfish. Megan didn't interrupt much. She just listened, her expression shifting from surprise to anger, to that protective look she gets when she decides something isn't okay. When I finished, I felt like I'd run a marathon. She let out a low whistle. Wow, she said. Your cousin is, what's the polite word? Trash. I laughed weakly. Greater than they want me to just let it go for the family, I said. Be the bigger person. Again, Megan sat down in the chair across from me, leaning forward. Greater than okay. I'm going to say what you already know, but need to hear out loud, she said. They are completely enabling him, like Olympic level enabling. I know, I said, but they're my parents. Diane's family. It's messy. Messy doesn't mean you roll over, she said. Chris, you worked your ass off for that car. 3 years. He stole it. That's not some little misunderstanding. That's a crime. I swallowed. Mom says I'm stronger, so I should just be the bigger person. Megan snorted. That's not a compliment. That's code for we know you'll tolerate more abuse than he will. Her words hit hard because they were true. So what do? I asked quietly. She didn't even hesitate. You do exactly what you said, she replied. You file the insurance claim for unauthorized use. You file the police report. You stop protecting him from consequences. And if your family gets mad, that's on them, not you. I stared at her. Do you really think I'm not overreacting? Overreacting, she repeated. If anything, you're If someone outside your family did this, Would you hesitate? No, I admitted. Then why does DNA change the rules? She asked. Seriously, I get that it hurts. I know you love them, but loving people doesn't mean letting them trample all over you. I felt tears prick my eyes. I'm scared, I said softly. I don't want to blow up my family. Megan's voice softened, but stayed firm. Greater than Chris, your family already lit the match. You're just deciding whether to stand in the fire or step away. I took a deep breath. She was right. Okay, I said. I'm filing the claim. And the police report. I'm done shielding him. Megan smiled crookedly. That's my girl. You want me to proofread your statement? I'm great at making men sound as bad on paper as they are in real life. I laughed, the first genuine laugh I'd had since the crash. Greater than yeah, I said. Actually, I might take you up on that. Quick question for you listening right now. If you were in my place, your cousin stole your dream car, wrecked it, and your whole family tried to guilt you into dropping it asterisk, would you press charges or keep the peace? Asterisk, let me know in the comments, because I know a lot of people are going to have opinions on this. A couple days later, I found myself sitting in a small, slightly stuffy office across from a man whose mug said, "Claims happen." His name was Paul Bennett, my insurance agent, middle-aged, wire-rimmed glasses, the kind of guy who'd probably seen more human chaos than he ever wanted to. He scanned his computer, then looked up at me. So, Miss Kristen, he said, we've got the initial reports from the accident. I understand a family member was driving. I nodded, my fingers tight around a folder in my lap. Greater than yes, I said, my cousin Brandon. He took my car without my permission. I'm filing this as unauthorized use. Paul tilted his head slightly. Unauthorized use with a family member can be tricky, he said. We'll need clear evidence that you explicitly denied permission. Got it, I said, sliding my phone across the desk. I have it. He adjusted his glasses and read the texts I'd pulled up. My message from days earlier. Greater than me, no way you're driving my car. Brandon, not happening. Brandon, lol, you're so dramatic. Me, I'm dead serious. Paul scrolled, nodding slowly. This is helpful, he said, very helpful. I exhaled a breath I didn't realize I'd been holding. He took my spare key from my kitchen, I said. I didn't even know it was gone until after the accident. Paul typed something into his system. All right, he said, here's how this works. If we accept this as unauthorized use, liability can be shifted. That means he would be personally responsible for damages instead of this being treated like you loaned him the vehicle. Good, I said. That's exactly what should happen. He looked at me over his glasses. I'll be honest, he said. Family cases like this can get emotionally complicated. Are you sure you want to go this route? Once this is on record, it's not easy to walk back. I didn't hesitate. I'm sure, I said. He knew I said no. He took it anyway. If I back down now, he learns nothing. Paul nodded, respect flickering in his expression. Okay, then, he said. We'll need your full written statement, a copy of the police report when it's ready, and we'll investigate. I can't promise the outcome, but this, he tapped my phone, is strong. He slid a stack of forms toward me. Take your time. Be detailed. We want the full picture. I sat there for almost an hour, writing everything out. The day I bought the car. The first time Brandon asked to drive it. My explicit refusal. The missing key. The call from the insurance company. His reaction at the scene. Every word felt like a step away from the old version of me, who swallowed anger for the sake of keeping the peace. When I was done, Paul took the forms and gave me a measured look. Greater than you did the right thing documenting all this, he said. We'll be in touch once we review everything. I walked out of that office feeling, not good, exactly, but strong, clear. I wish I could say. Brandon took all of this like an adult. He did not. A couple days after the insurance visit, I was back at work trying to focus when my phone buzzed with a text from Megan. Megan, are you on Twitter right now? Me. No. Why? Megan, you might want to be. Check Brandon's profile. My stomach dropped. I opened Twitter and searched his handle, and there it was. A long thread, starting with, so my cousin is trying to ruin my life over a car. My heart started hammering as I scrolled. He painted me as some icy, vindictive monster. Greater than, she's pressing charges on me for stealing her car when I was just borrowing it. Families should have each other's backs, but I guess money changed her. Imagine sending your own cousin to jail over a vehicle. The replies were already pouring in. Wow, she sounds selfish over a car. That's crazy. She could have handled that privately. My chest tightened. Then I saw familiar names. Coworkers. Mutual connections. Even a client I'd recently pitched. One comment from someone I worked with. Wait, is this the cousin who just got the Tesla? Yikes. Heat crawled up my neck. My reputation's something I'd spent years building as reliable, professional, grounded was being chipped away in real time. In front of people I needed to trust me. I felt my hands start to shake. Megan appeared in my doorway again, like she had a sixth sense. You saw it, didn't you? She asked quietly. I nodded, throat tight. He's trying to ruin me, I whispered. She walked in and shut the door. No, she said. He's trying to manipulate the narrative because for the first time in his life, he's facing real consequences. That's different. I sank into my chair. People I work with are seeing this, I said. Clients. My boss. They're going to think I'm some vindictive psycho. Megan shook her head. Then you tell the truth, she said. Not in a dragged-out fight, not in a back-and-forth thread. One clear.com post that sets the record straight. I don't want to air my family drama online, I said. Too late, she replied bluntly. He already did. You didn't start this. But you can decide how you respond. I stared at the screen, scrolling through responses. Should I just block him? I asked. My voice small. Megan shrugged. You can, but I think you should post your side first. One time, then block. You don't owe him a debate. Just clarity. She paused. And for the record, anyone who hears your side and still thinks you're the villain is not someone you want in your corner anyway. For everyone watching this, have you ever had someone twist a situation and make you look like the bad guy because you finally set a boundary? How did you handle it? Let me know in the comments. Because I know I'm not the only one who's been painted as the villain for saying no. By the time Friday rolled around, my mom texted me again. Mom, we're having dinner Sunday. Brandon will be there. Please come. We need to put this behind us. I stared at the message for a long time. Part of me wanted to ignore it completely. Another part of me wanted to show up with printouts of the Twitter thread and insurance documents like it was a court case. In the end, I went not for them for me. I needed to say some things out loud. Sunday night, I pulled into my parents' driveway in the rattly sedan. The house looked the same as always from the outside. Warm light in the windows, porch light on, but inside, it felt like enemy territory. Mom was at the table, fussing with silverware that didn't need fussing. Dad sat at the head, arms crossed, jaw tight. Aunt Diane and Uncle Stephen sat together, tension all over their faces. Brandon was already there, slouched in his chair, eyes on his phone. He looked up when I walked in, then quickly looked away. Hi honey, Mom said with forced cheer. Come sit, let's just eat and talk like adults. Okay. I sat down opposite Brandon. The air was thick. For a few minutes, there was only the sound of plates clinking and half-hearted small talk about the weather, work, anything but the giant elephant-shaped Tesla carcass in the room. Finally, Dad cleared his throat. All right, he said. We can't keep dancing around this. Kristen, we're worried. This whole situation has gotten out of hand. I set my fork down deliberately. You mean the situation where your nephew stole my car? I asked. Or the situation where he's calling me a monster on social media? Aunt Diane winced. Brandon shouldn't have posted that, she said quickly. He was emotional. But dragging the police and the insurance company into this, that's extreme. Brandon rolled his eyes. I said I was sorry. He muttered. I don't know why she needs to ruin my life over it. I snapped my head toward him. You're sorry, I said. For which part? Stealing my keys, crashing my car, laughing in my face at the scene, or lying about me online? He shrugged. All of it. Whatever. Can we just move on? Mom reached for my hand across the table. Sweetie, she said softly. Family forgives family. We love you both. We don't want this to tear us apart. I pulled my hand back. I keep hearing that, I said. Funny how forgiveness only ever gets asked of one person in this family. Dad leaned forward, voice firm. What do you want, Kristen? He asked. You want him to grovel? You want us to throw him out on the street? You want him in jail? I met his gaze levelly. I want him to face consequences, I said. That's it, real ones. Not you writing a check to make it disappear. Aunt Diane's voice sharpened. Do you understand that your claim could destroy his future? She asked. He's already struggling with clients. This could follow him for years. I looked at Brandon. Good, I said quietly. Maybe he'll think twice before stealing next time. Brandon scoffed. It's just a car, he muttered. You're acting like I burned your house down. My temper snapped. It's not just a car, I said, my voice rising. It's 3 years of my life. 3 years of me saying no to myself so I could finally say yes to something that was mine. You didn't just crash metal. You crashed everything that car represented. The room went still. Mom's eyes filled with tears. Kristen, please, she whispered. We can pay for the repairs. Just drop the claim. Diane and Steven are willing to help. We'll take care of it. I shook my head. I don't want your money, I said. That's the whole point. I've never wanted your money. I wanted you to treat me with the same urgency you treat him, but you don't. You worry about his future, his feelings, his comfort. Mine. I'm just the one who's strong enough to handle being hurt. Dad's shoulders slumped slightly. That's not true, he said weakly. Yes it is, I replied. When I worked double shifts in college to pay for my tuition and my broke-down laptop, you didn't rush to bail me out. When Brandon racked up $5,000 in credit card debt, you all scrambled to rescue him. You rewarded his chaos and expected me to applaud. Aunt Diane flinched. That's not fair, she murmured. I laughed bitterly. Fair? I asked. No. What's not fair is you calling me selfish for expecting the bare minimum. Accountability. I slid a folder onto the table. The insurance paperwork. My printed statement. A copy of the police report. I've already filed everything, I said. This is happening. I'm not backing down. Brandon's chair scraped loudly as he stood. You're really doing this? He snapped. You're really that heartless? I stood too. Heartless, I repeated. You stole from me. You lied about me. You tried to destroy my reputation to save face. And I'm heartless. No, Brandon. I'm just done being your doormat. He opened his mouth, then shut it again. For once, he seemed at a loss for words. Mom was crying openly now. Please, Kristen, she sobbed. This could ruin our relationship. I swallowed hard. Mom, I said softly. Our relationship is already ruined if the only way to keep it is for me to abandon myself. Silence. Then I picked up my folder, turned, and walked out, heart pounding, eyes burning, but spine straight. I cried the whole drive home, not because I regretted my decision, but because I knew something huge had shifted. I wasn't just fighting for a car anymore. I was fighting for the right to say, this hurt me, and I am allowed to protect myself. The fallout didn't all happen at once. It was more like dominoes slowly tipping. First, the insurance company sent their final notice. They accepted my claim as unauthorized use. The damages, around $30,000, were assigned to Brandon as the liable party. No more. Oops, no more accident. On paper, it was exactly what it was. Unauthorized use of a motor vehicle resulting in damage. A week later, Aunt Diane called, voice trembling. Kristen, she said, they sent the bill to Brandon. They expect him to pay. Yes, I said simply. He can't pay this, she said. He doesn't have that kind of money. You know that's not my problem, I replied. He should have thought about that before he stole my car. She was silent for a long moment. We can't help him this time, she said quietly. The house payments are killing us, and Steven's hours got cut. He's droning. I leaned back against my countertop, the weight of her words sinking in, but not in the way she wanted. Then maybe this is the wake-up call he needs. I said, can't you talk to the insurance company? She begged. Tell them you changed your mind. Ask them to reduce it. Something. No, I said softly. I'm not cleaning up his mess. She sniffed. You've changed, Kristen. Maybe, I said. Or maybe I just finally stopped letting you all treat my effort like it's disposable. I hung up, hands shaking, but I didn't call back. Then came the clients. Remember that Twitter thread where Brandon painted me as the villain? Well, social media cuts both ways. A couple of his clients who were mutuals with people at my job saw everything. Some of them reached out to me privately, asking what really happened. I didn't trash him. I just told the truth. He stole my car, I wrote. I told him no. He took my keys, wrecked my vehicle, then tried to shame me online for holding him accountable. I'm not the one lying in this situation. A few days later, Brandon showed up at my apartment. He looked different. Less smug, more frantic. He banged on my door until I opened it. What do you want? I asked, blocking the entryway. His eyes were wide, hair a mess, phone clutched in his hand. You have to help me, he said. They dropped me. Who? I asked. My clients, he snapped. 3 of them. One sent this. He shoved his phone toward me. I read the email on the screen. Due to recent concerns about your professionalism and public conduct, we've decided to terminate our contract. We cannot associate with individuals involved in public disputes of this nature. I handed his phone back. That's on you, I said calmly. You're the one who decided to blast your side of the story to the internet. You're the one who tried to make me look crazy. His voice cracked. You pushed me into this. You went nuclear with the claim and the police report. No, I said. I set a boundary. You reacted badly. This isn't my doing. It's yours. He slumped onto my couch, without asking permission, head in his hands. $30,000, he groaned. I can't pay that. I'm screwed. I'm literally screwed. I watched him for a moment. Once, this would have broken me. Once, I would have caved, offered to help, felt guilty for his pain now. I just felt tired. Figure it out, I said quietly, like I figured things out when nobody bailed me out. He shot me a wounded glare. You're heartless, he whispered. I met his eyes. No, I said. I'm finally treating you like an adult. You made choices. Now you get to own them. He didn't have a comeback for that, he just left. In the weeks that followed, my relationship with my parents and aunt and uncle fractured. There were texts, voicemails, long, emotionally loaded messages about forgiveness and family. I didn't ignore all of them, but I did start doing something new. I responded when I was calm. I responded briefly. I didn't justify. I didn't argue. I didn't try to make them see what they clearly weren't ready to see. Eventually, when the guilt trips turned into outright accusations, you're tearing this family apart. You're punishing him. You're cold now. I muted the group chat then. One day, I just blocked their numbers, not forever, but long enough for me to breathe. My apartment felt quieter, lighter. I focused on work, on rebuilding, on choosing a new car, not as flashy, not as grand, but mine. The insurance payout covered a good chunk. It wasn't the Tesla, but it was still something I'd earned the hard way at the office. A few coworkers who'd seen Brandon's Twitter drama told me quietly, "We're with you. We get it. You did what you had to do." One client even emailed, "We trust your judgment, Kristen. That situation showed us more about your integrity than anything else." That message meant more than they knew. I had been so afraid that setting boundaries would destroy my reputation. Instead, it revealed who actually respected me. Looking back now, with some distance and a lot of therapy, yes, I went, here's what I've learned. Responsibility isn't just paying bills or showing up on time. It's owning your choices even when they hurt. For years, I thought being the bigger person meant swallowing my anger, letting things slide, keeping the peace while I quietly bled. I thought that was strength. It wasn't. Strength was sitting in that insurance office, hands shaking, and saying, "This was unauthorized. He needs to be held accountable." Strength was walking out of that family dinner, knowing they might see me as the villain for a long time. Strength was blocking numbers not out of spite, but out of self-preservation. My Tesla, I lost it, but I gained something bigger. Clarity. I saw the dynamic for what it had always been. Brandon made the mess. Everyone else cleaned it up. I was expected to understand, forgive, and absorb the fallout. The moment I stopped doing that, the whole system buckled. It was messy, it was painful, but it was honest. So if you're listening to this, and you've got your own Brandon in your life, someone who takes, and everyone around them keeps making excuses, I want to tell you this: guard what you've earned. Your time, your money, your heart, your peace. Just because someone shares your blood, doesn't mean they're entitled to your sacrifices. People will try to make their problems your responsibility. They'll call you selfish when you stop letting them use you. They'll say you've changed when you finally start saying no. Let them talk. You're not selfish for protecting what's yours. You're not cruel for enforcing boundaries. You're not heartless for refusing to be a safety net for someone who keeps jumping off cliffs on purpose. If anything, that's the most loving thing you can do for yourself and, ironically, for them. Because sometimes the only thing that finally teaches someone is the one thing they were sure they'd never face: real consequences. I'm moving forward now, not with the exact car I dreamed of, but with something stronger: my integrity, my boundaries. The knowledge that I can stand on my own, even when the people who should have had my back chose to protect my oppressor instead. My story isn't about what I lost, it's about what I finally refused to give away. If you're still here, thank you for listening to my story. If you've ever had to stand up to family, or walk away from someone you love, to protect yourself, you're not alone. Drop your experience in the comments. If you're comfortable, I read them. And I know others do too. And if you haven't yet, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss more stories like this. Stories about boundaries, justice, and finding your voice. Because at the end of the day, Asterisk asterisk, your life is yours to protect. No one else gets to claim it. Asterisk asterisk.